Hello, my name is Mary, and I am a Mary Stitcher here on YouTube and also on Instagram. And this is my Flosstube channel about cross stitch. So I'm going to start out today with the WIP parade so you can get an idea of the kind of things that I like to stitch. My oldest WIP is from August of 2021, and it is a Bristol sampler from Dutch Treat Designs. And it's called M.H. Smith 1890. And I chose this particular Bristol because I was born M.H. Smith, so I decided this might be a good choice for me. And I'm stitching it on 46 count linen, mostly because it's a big girl and I don't want it to be bed sheet size when I'm done. So here's what I have done. I've got a pretty good start on the top row, but there's a long way to go. So my hope is to put some more stitches in this one this year for sure. My next WIP was from January 1st of 2022, and it is a Modern Folk Embroidery family patchwork. This is a beautiful sampler. Somi Sarah recently finished this one, and hers was gorgeous. She did it in red, and I absolutely loved it. Now I chose to do mine on 40 count linen. Let's see, I'm trying to think. Winter White by Seraphim, there it is. And the color of the silk I'm using here is Finnegan's Fog from Silken Colors. I really like this color because it's got blues and browns and a little bit of a teal in it, so it's quite pretty. My next one is another Modern Folk Embroidery actually. And this one is Love Gains, which is really a pretty Quaker style. And I am doing this one on Legacy Linen, 37 count Corkscrew Willow. And I'm ashamed to say I have a pitiful start on this one. One little motif. And you can see that there it is, this first one right up here. So obviously I have a long way to go on that one as well. Unfortunately, that's a little bit of a recurring theme. Let's see, next I have a Near Tragedy, but I think I'm going to be able to pull through. This is yet another Modern Folk Embroidery. I was on a roll with Modern Folk Embroidery. And this one is called Birds from Bernhardt's Books. And of course, naturally, I cannot find the main cover page. There it is. Okay. This is the cover page. And this was a fundraiser for a brain aneurysm charity. It was with Modern Folk Embroidery and Evertote. It was a collaboration. Now, I'm doing this in a Stitchy Box flower silk. And I'll bet you can spot my problem right away. I committed the sin of cutting the linen. And you can see, if you look carefully, that I cut with the same margin here as I had over here. The only problem is I haven't stitched this band on this side yet. So I may have a serious margin problem. I think I'm going to be okay because I plan to pin this. I stitched it on Ada, so it would be a good candidate for pinning. So I can pin pretty close to this edge over here. But the minute I made that cut, I knew I had blown it. And that's why so many of us are paranoid to cut our linen. We're afraid we're going to make a mistake. I am a classic example of that mistake, so there you go. All right, my next WIP is a long dog. Oh my gosh. Not my first long dog, but certainly my largest one to date. This is Long Dog Samplers Saint Senoch. And I love this one because it's got kind of bigger motifs in the letters. There's a lot of color, It just has that kind of a neat, almost looks like an Elizabethan feel to me. I love this one. Anyway, let's see. How far did I get? Not as far as I would like. And here I am. I've started the G. I started in the upper corner, and you can see the little G. And I changed the colors just a little bit. This is on white 22 count. Again, because this is a big girl, and I'm just trying to keep the sizes to where I can afford to have them framed. So, let's see. Next is from my New Year's Eve 12 by 12 in 2022. This is a chart. This is kind of a mashup design. I tend to play around with designs a lot. And in this case, I contacted the designer to let her know what I was going to do and make sure I wasn't going to offend her by doing it. But what this is this is the Reverend Gourdon Squashbottom, which you've seen lots of people do. And it's also Prunella Squashbottom, sorry. Anyway, what I'm going to do, I knew that I wouldn't stitch these two separately and frame them because I don't have infinite wall space. So what I thought I would do, because I love them both, is mush them together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out one of the houses. I'm going to put Gourdon and Prunella in. I'm going to put their animal familiars in. And in order to make it look right to me, I had to sort of mirror image. When I recharted it, I had to mirror image some of the animals, and I think I even turned around one of the characters, just so that they looked more naturally as if they were out and about together. And only stitching one house is not going to break my heart, because although I love the way houses look in samplers, I don't always love stitching houses. So this way I get to have the best of the characters, only one building, and only one frame. So that is my next idea. Let's see, where am I? Okay. I think that's the last of my 12 by 12s from that I have together. Okay. Next I have my first mirabilia, and this is something I stitched in conjunction with Memphis Sarah E as part of her So Fancy B-Day Sal, and this is Nora Corbett's Holly. And I thought it was a perfect way to start doing a mirabilia type chart, because it's a fairly controlled size. It's not super, I mean, there's a little bit of density, but it's not a super dense stitch. And I just really have always liked this one. I'm almost done. I'm embarrassed to say that I told Sarah I would be done and would be starting this year's So Fancy Birthday Sal stitch, but I haven't quite finished the beads yet. So I've got her back stitched. I've got all the regular stitching done. All I need to do is buckle down and learn how to bead. So that's where I am with this. Let's see. I'm gonna have a pile to clean up here. I can tell. Got things going every which way. All right. Then on January 1st, I started two things, one of which I don't have a cover sheet for. This is the temperature chart that I'm doing for 2023, and this one is from Stitching Book Club. And since I don't have a cover picture, but I'm getting close to being done, this is what it looks like. It's such a fun way to do a temperature sal, because what happens is the days run across one way and then another all the way down. And then down below, just for a little bit of added color, the designer put down these cool flowers, and then I'll put the name of my city in and be ready to go. But this one is going to be done, I think, on time, if I can get those flowers on the bottom finished. So I would be very impressed with myself if I finished that on time again. I finished last year's temperature sal and felt good about it. My other January 1st start, no, it wasn't January 1st, it was January 16th. That's right. This one was Brenda's big birthday sal. And the chart is Martha Evans. I'm sorry about the glare, I apologize. There we go. Martha Evans from the Scarlett house. And this is such a pretty chart. And I got the silks from Vicki Clayton, who did a conversion on this one. And I love Vicki Clayton silks. And this is how far I've gotten. Sorry for the wrinkles, I apologize. As you can see, I have not gotten that far. I have made it all the way around the border, and thanks to a fairly early in the game post by the Peregrine Stitcher, I believe it was, there was a funny little inconsistency in the border that made it really easy to mess up. So I went down and went all the way around the border just to make sure that I wouldn't forget about her little hint to count very carefully in one particular place. So I'm very thankful that I saw that post and was able to get the border right. Next, we've got, yes, this was my birthday start. And this is from the Blue Flower, and it's Huckleberry Farm. I love Janine's work. Her designs are so good. She does animals really well. And on this one, I had seen this stitched at, gosh, I think it was the Steel City Stitchers Retreat, and somebody had one on the brag table, and it was done on some fabric called Jamie's Kilt, and it was from Fabrics by Stephanie, I believe it is. And so of course I had to run out and get some. This is really not a great representation of the color, but you can see I kind of started in the middle-ish where the butterfly is. There we go. So you can kind of see, again, I haven't gone very far. I was feeling kind of bad on how pitiful some of my starts were when I was looking over this. And then I realized that I had a fair number of WIPs at the beginning of the year, and I've actually finished 29 things already. So I don't feel so bad about how little I have done on the ones I have left. All right, let's see. The next, yes. My next WIP is from Jean Lee at the Attic. This is Ersilia's sampler. And this is another really fun design. I've seen several people do this. I think the most recent one who finished it was Sarah from Sarah's Stitchy Spot. And this is so great. And I can't think who the other person is that I saw do this, but I really just love everything about this. One thing I am going to do, and I do this on a lot of charts, is I am going to square up the design just a little bit. It's almost square to begin with. And so what I'm going to do is nudge some things around, add enough space, maybe a little, where some of these alphabets are a little wonky, I may give it a little more breathing room, move the bottom down enough, just so that the design is essentially square. Because what that's going to do is allow me to use a stock frame, have a pretty consistent margin all the way around, and I'm all for anything that's going to save me a little bit of money on framing. So let's see, here is where I am on this one. And I decided to do it not in a red, but in a gold. This is a Gloriana, let's see, where am I? I think I know. It's Gloriana in old gold. Well, I should have known that. There it is. And you can see the variegation in that silk is just so pretty, and I think it's going to be really a beautiful sampler. There we go. Next is Summer Quaker. And so we're actually already up to this fall, so that's not too bad. This is Summer Quaker by Lila Studio. And this is part of a sal with the Huga Stitcher. And it's the Live in the Sunshine sal. I'm stitching this on 18 count Picture This Plus Ada in Fog, using the called for DMCs. And again, I don't have a huge start, but you can tell just how pretty that's going to be. The colors in this are so beautiful. So I really am excited to get back to this one. Oh my gosh, the famous line that we all use during WIP parades. I can't wait to get back to this one. We all do it. But it's true. I mean, if there were enough hours in the day, we'd stitch them all day, all night. All right, next we've got the blue flower again. I love the blue flower. This one is my Forest Home, or maybe it's just Forest Home. But again, this started out, I think, as a retreat piece or an exclusive through Acorns and Threads. And I think it's in wide release now. But I just love this. And having lived in the Northwest for quite a number of years, I really just this vibe was great. I really liked it. So I have an embarrassingly small start on this one. It's pretty sad. But gotta start somewhere. So here you can see, look, there's a tiny little tree. And there's where it came from in that upper corner. So again, long way to go, but I'll get there. And it'll be an enjoyable stitch, so I'm excited. Then we've got another fancy lady that I started thinking that I was going to be able to have this done in time for my daughter's Christmas this year. Nope, didn't get there. I ran into some problems. I didn't have some threads, so I got sidetracked and moved on to other things. But this is Letters from Nora. It's S, which is my daughter's initial for her first name. And again, I don't have a tremendous amount. This is the little curlicue, and you can just see the beginning of the wing of the fairy who's sitting on the S. So again, quite a ways to go. Next. Aha, I'm up to the pile on the table now. Here we go. For Sampler September, I decided to do just a really beautiful design from Teresa Vanette, also known as Shakespeare's Peddler, also known as Kitten Stitcher. By any name, we love her. This is M. Satterthwaite. And again, as you can see with some of the other charts I have, I do love a Quaker. And this is a particularly nice one. I have Anne Grimshaw waiting in my queue. But Anne Grimshaw is huge. I mean, big. So this one seems like such a great kind of a gateway to get me ready for Anne Grimshaw, because it's beautiful, it's very nearly square, which I'm always a fan of, and I decided to do this one instead of in black, which is lovely. I know that I'm going to do Anne Grimshaw in black, so I didn't want to have two. So what I've done is I'm using a Vicky Clayton silk, and it's called Unmasked. So there's the chart, and here is my start. And I have my bed sheet sized piece of flannel flower from Fox and Rabbit, because I love flannel flower. I had such a hard time finding it. Pardon my thread. Oh, thread-a-palooza here. Here we go. And there's where I've gotten to. It's hard to see the color, but the variegation in this silk is so pretty, and I just love that sort of a deep teal color. So, and it looks great on the flannel flower. So a decent start on that one. At least it's not just one squiggly line. Let's see, next we've got, oh yes, continuing in the Quaker theme because I love a Quaker. We've got from Luminous Fiber Arts, this is Enchanted Quaker. And the minute I saw this, when Misty was showing it on her Flosstube, I knew I had to stitch it because even though it's Halloween, it's kind of sweet retro Halloween. And you can see it's got a lot of interesting things. You've got the moon, I like the witch, the little ghosts here. It's a pretty layout. I like it because it's not super tightly packed with things. And I'm stitching this on Da Vinci by Picture This Plus. And it's super cute. And again, I'm using a Victoria Clayton silk, partially because her silks are very affordable and her colors are beautiful and the sheen on her silks are really nice. I'm trying to see if I can get this to show up. Let's see. So, there we go. It's just, there's purple and black in there, and it's just the prettiest color. And again, the sheen on these is beautiful, and they're just a pleasure to stitch with. I really like them. So, let's see. Next we have, ah yes, Halloween. We're up to Halloween. My Halloween starts, I decided to go wild and have 2 Halloween starts. So what I've got is Halloween Hijinks. And this is a Carolyn Manning. And it's so pretty. Actually, I think Pam from Just Keep Stitching is working on this one. This may be where I first saw this one, and then I saw someone else stitching it as well, but I think Pam was the first one I saw doing it. And I love it because it's so colorful, but as with a lot of Carolyn Manning designs, it's pretty involved. There's a lot there. So what I'm doing, again, is doing a slightly abbreviated version of this. I am shrinking the size of the square, still having the banding basically be the same, just not quite as many little pieces. And then I'm taking the pieces from the middle that I like the best and sort of arranging them in a way where the colors still work out. But I've got a plan. It's really fun though. And mostly I make these changes to either change the size of the design or make it small enough that I think I'm going to get through it quickly. But there it is. It's just so cute. I mean, I have this tiny little start, but it's already super cute. So, there's that one. Then we have, let's see, the other one I started on Halloween is Spooky Countdown. Now, this one recently has been done and completed by several people, but Olivia from Pumpkin Hollow Quilts, I think, is the most recent one that I've seen who finished this, and hers was so cute. It was really fun. And again, I don't have too much of a start. Quite a small start, actually. Let's see. Just the beginnings of the border and the D in Countdown. So you can see it's not a ton. But again, I'll get there. Let's see. We're getting close now. Let's see. This next one is from the Autumn Queen, I'm telling you. Teresa Kogut. She could do Halloween, she could do fall. That woman knows fall like the back of her hand. And she does a mean Santa too. This is Folksy Thomas. And there are a few people doing this right now because it's just come into wide release. She released this to her Patreon members, and I am a Patreon member, but I don't know if I was at the time that this one came out, but as a member, you have the ability to go back and buy things that were previous Patreon charts individually. So I didn't have to buy the booklet that this was in, although everything in the booklet was beautiful. In this particular case, I was able to just go back and buy this one, and I just love this guy. He's super cute. And as with a lot of my seasonal designs, I am doing this on Aida, but that's because for things that are only out, say, a month at a time, it doesn't have to be on super fine linen. I see, you can see the start that I got, and that is, oops, the little hearts and this little bit here. I'm just getting started on the vines. And this is another one where it's not quite square. And so what I'm doing is just adding a few lines in spaces where it doesn't really alter the design very much. You know, maybe a stem just gets a little bit longer, or, you know, for instance, on the urn, I made the base of the urn one line higher. I made the center of the urn one line higher. So I'm adding just a row here and there. And by the time I'm done with this, I'll have it square. And it just is going to be easier for me to frame it that way. So, let's see. Oh my gosh, almost at the end. The next one is, I have to be careful and show this the right way. This is the Modern Folk Embroidery Christmas Countdown through Evertote and Roxy Flosco. And this has been so much fun every single day to get to the cards, figure out where the stitching goes, and the colors of the flosses are so pretty. I mean, I'm afraid my Snarl O Floss is probably not in the perfect order. Here we go. I'll do the floss comb. But you can see there's so many pretty colors. There's beautiful greens. There's some blues in here that are just fantastic. So I'm really excited to get this one done. And where is my little chart? There it is, my little guy. And again, I'm doing this on a 20 count Aida because I do like a 20 count Aida. But here you can see I've gotten through today's stitching, and the colors on this are so fun, and the design is working out so pretty. We're just about done, and I'm excited because this is the second time I've done the Christmas countdown, and last year I did it on time. It's the only time I've ever done a sal where I kept up with it every day. And this is another one where I've kept up with it every day, so I'm really excited about that. And the very last WIP that I have, my most current WIP, is the one I started yesterday. Yesterday was the winter solstice, and it's the shortest day of the year. And now the days start getting longer again, which is really exciting. So I decided to start winter solstice. And this one is really a wonderful design by Joan Elliott. Now, it's pretty big. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to eliminate this top band with the owl. And I'm going to eliminate the band that says winter. So the top will be this little row here of trees. And I'm going to take the band that says solstice and swap it out for where these moon phases are. So what you're going to have is trees, this band with the fairies, then you're going to have the word solstice, and then you'll have this lower portion that has the little wolves and the deer. So it's going to shrink down to where it'll probably be about this big. And to me, I like the shape of that better. And I know again that it'll be easier for me to stitch the whole thing at that point. It'll fit a little better. Now this is how far I got last night. It's just a little tiny bit. I started at the bottom. You can see this band here with a little kind of a squinchy looking leaves, and I'm doing the back stitching as I go because it seems like the right idea for me. I'm not crazy about back stitch, and the only way I'm sure I'm going to do it is if I do it as I go. I didn't do that on the mirabilia though, because a lot of the back stitch was with Kreinik, and I didn't think that it would be a good idea to pre-back stitch with Kreinik. So that's it. That is my WIP parade. Not too bad. I think that leaves me 21 WIPs. I will have another one to start the year because I will be having a Christmas start. And I may have another 2 because I might do 1 start on New Year's Eve. But I'll come back after Christmas with a short plans video. I don't think I'll have made tremendous amount of progress between now and then, but I'll do a short video at that time. And then from that point forward, I'll probably record a Flosstube every couple of weeks because I want to be sure I have enough progress for it to be interesting for you to see. So that's it for me. And thank you very much if you've made it this far with my newness. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Please like this video, and if you'd like to subscribe, then you'll know when I put up my next one, and I would appreciate that greatly. Thank you very much. Have a Merry Christmas.